Welcome back to the Human Nexus podcast. My name is Andrew Brazis. I am a marketing and business consultant and private chef.
Welcome back. My name is Miss Laura Machiste. I am a YouTube tarot reader, holistic massage therapist, and energy coach. And today on this episode, we are talking about the afterlife, near death experiences, and what we believe happens when we transition over to the other side.
Set us off. What is your thoughts, I guess, on what happens when we die?
So I feel like we kind of just go into a new dimension where there isn't like that physical being, but there is still like that soul and that spirit. And I like to believe that it is like close to our 3D dimension, as well as how people can even like see people who have passed on and receive information from them. It makes me feel like, okay, well, we're probably on the 3D. And when you pass on, if energy cannot be created nor destroyed scientifically, then that means that energy has to go somewhere. So I like to believe that they are just on a different level. Maybe they're like above us somehow, or like on the same level yet on a different frequency, and opposed to like having a physical body, they're just the soul. So I
Yeah.
like to think that the transition is just out of the physical body, but the soul and the spirit is maybe on like the 5D, and how we access the 5D through like meditation and dreams. And if you have that like strong intuitive gift, because if mediums exist and they are able to receive information from the other side, that kind of makes me feel like it can't be that much further away from us. It must be just on a different playing field
Yeah,
of
like
a
if they're like connecting with the spirits and speaking with people who've passed on,
right,
that makes
exactly.
sense. Do you think there's a period of like review? Like that's pretty consistent against like with all major religions. Like there's this time that you're either being judged or you're like judging yourself and like your task deeds, what you didn't do in the life. Do you think that's something that happens?
I definitely feel like we have our life review. I feel like
Mm.
during that transitional moment, when people say like your life flashes before your eyes when you are in a moment where you think you're about to like pass on.
I had one of
Um,
those experiences, which I'll get into. It
so
was
I do
exactly that.
feel,
Yeah.
right. So I feel like that does happen for everybody who passes on, where they kind of like get to review their life. And I personally feel, because of my experience of being around people that ended up passing on and or stories that I've read. Like for example, my sister was supposed to go to a bridal shower,
Mm.
and she asked my dad, who was basically dying from cancer, and she's like, "Should I go on this bridal shower?" Like, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to make it past that. You shouldn't go." So I like to feel like that they have some type of knowing,
Mm.
whether they're
Yeah.
seeing things or they're feeling different, or maybe they did have that like life review. I'm not sure exactly at what point it happens, but even if you read people's like diaries or stuff like that, like a couple of days before they pass, like they'll write like, I'm getting colder, or like I don't feel alive as much anymore, and then like 2 days later they pass on. So I like to feel like there's something that comes with it, if it happens more in a like a maybe a natural way where like the body gives out instead of like an actual like disastrous moment. I feel like maybe more of a catastrophic moment, the life review is in like 5 seconds. It's really fast. That's this, that, and the other. And I don't know. I kind of feel like if it's more of like those natural, like the body's just giving away, I kind of like to feel like that review isn't just like 5 seconds, where they could tap into like old memories and things like that.
Yeah, I'll get into my experience before I explain what I think happens. I was 19 and I tried to commit suicide. And I'm
Hmm.
not going to go into details of everything, but at like the height of that moment, when I was like, "Oh, this is it. I'm done for. I'm dead."
Hmm.
I saw my life up until that point, like literally flash between like in front of my like I don't know in my third eye, I guess, or like in my mind's eye.
Can you explain
And
like a little how you saw it? Like, was it like a camera roll, like going
it
like
was
this?
like it was almost like a dream. Like I got
Mm,
severe tunnel vision and then everything went white. And then it was like it was like I saw myself coming out of the womb. But it was like super, super fast.
right.
Like, when you fast forward a movie, it
Mm-hmm.
was like that times 10. But it
Wow.
was like all the really like heartfelt connections I had, um, like, like winning football game, like just like all like the big moments of my life up until
Mm-hmm.
that point. And it was so insane. Like experiencing that. I mean, the event itself was life changing. It was crazy, but like that specific thing really changed on like how I approached and looked at life after surviving.
Right.
Um, and I would imagine it would be similar for other people. Like I don't know why like my event would be any different than anybody else who is like near death experience,
Right.
you know?
Did you see anything else, or it was just kind of like the dream-like memories of your life? Did you like feel a spirit or something tell you like, hey, it's not your time yet?
No, I didn't feel. I was also like drugged out of my mind. Like there was just
Hmm.
like mentally, emotionally, I was just like not there. So
Right.
to say exactly what I felt or whatever, is hard to pinpoint. But in that experience, it was really similar to times that I've meditated and like, I don't know, broken through like the fifth, I don't know, dimension, I guess.
Hmm.
And it was like there really wasn't feeling attached to it. Like in a dream, like let's say you have a really bad nightmare and you're like afraid, severely afraid because it's a nightmare. Like there wasn't
Hmm.
any of that. It was like really calm, but it was also like, holy shit, this is happening. Like I'm literally
Right.
watching my life the last 19 years just like zoom by. And it
Did you have a
was
moment where you were kind of like, no, like I want to redo that, or like, I hold on, I made the well, you say you don't know how you
no,
felt,
yeah, no, there was no like it was too fast. Like I mean
right?
it all happened. I mean it was probably in like seconds. It felt like 5 to 10 minutes, but it was
Hmm.
realistically probably like 20 seconds, like in like real
And
time.
how, like, did you just realize that it didn't work the next day when you woke up, or
No,
in that
no.
moment?
So
Mm.
I was laying on train tracks
Oh, okay.
and there was two tracks and it was like 2 or 3 a.m. and I saw the train coming.
Hmm.
I laid down before, and I'm drugged out of my mind. I can't tell which side the train's on.
Right.
And it went by and it wasn't on my side. Like I actually had like a stocking cap on. It took my cap off. I lost my hat. Um,
Wow.
but it was like the train going by my face was like, oh shit, I'm still alive. And then all
Hmm.
that happened. So it was,
Wow.
yeah, it was really insane. And like and that of itself, I don't know. I wouldn't say like a miracle. That's like a 50-50 chance, right? So
That is crazy.
yeah, it was
It
intense.
wasn't your time. You were supposed to be saved.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like happens specifically when people do try to like, I guess, like make themselves what they want it to be.
Hmm.
I feel like if you really have the purpose and like the soul is like, no, 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 like this can't happen, I feel like it would be the other train, you know? That
Yeah.
would have told me right away, like, okay,
Yeah.
something wants me here. I don't know what it is,
I
but
mean, and then I mean to add to like the craziness of it, it was like 40-ish miles from my house. So I
mm,
then drove home and I'm like blacked out, like
wow.
incoherent. And I had a stick shift at the time. And I remember leaving the road that I was on and there was like a stop sign at a T and I turned right because I knew that was the direction that my house was. And then I blacked out. and I woke up in my
Wow.
bed. I had totaled my car, and somehow I made it home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then I was
Yep,
like,
something saved you that night.
yeah, well, I had a. This was years later, but my non-biological grandfather, who was like really a present father figure in my life growing up, because I didn't really have
Mhm.
one. I mean, he was it, and he showed up in a dream, and he was like ethereal, and we were just like talking, like having conversation, and he told me that he saved me. He was like, "Yeah, that was me that night. I like kept you safe." And what's crazy is before that dream happened, I've always been given I've been given like religious gifts from family members, and it was
Mhm.
always Archangel Michael, and his name was Mike.
Wow.
So that's like it's just so weird how those things play out.
Yeah, that
And
is
it
crazy.
yeah, and it
Wow.
really makes me look at the world different, like post those events. Yeah.
I feel like that's another thing too, is that when there is those moments of like not really wanting to live anymore, not really finding those things in your life, I feel like either A, the personality free willingly says like, all right, wait, I don't want to do this anymore. Or like something does end up happening as
Yeah.
like an accident to be like, okay, like, are you going to value your time here or not? I've always had these experiences when I was younger, when I was like not happy about things or just like really upset. I used to like, and I would be home and I would just like cry and say, like, I want to go home. And like, we were like, what do you mean? Like, you're home. I'm like, not this home. I want to go home, home. And in my reality now, and as an adult, I realize that like my younger self meant like leaving, like not
Yeah.
wanting to be here anymore. So that is absolutely crazy, which actually gets me to the point of the show that I watched called Life After Death. And it's basically about like all these people who've experienced near death experiences. And this one lady that stuck out to me, she was like on a canoeing trip. You should watch this show, it's really good. She was on a canoeing trip and I guess she like went down a waterfall like where she shouldn't have been and she got like stuck in the water and like kind of like drowned or was like stuck in the canoe in the water so like she couldn't get
Mhm.
out and she like saw like a white light. She saw her life flash before her eyes like you say stated, but she was also met by like a being and the being told her like you're going to be saved, like this is it's not your time yet, although you're seeing this. And the being told her that one of her sons was going to die early in life.
Oh shit.
Right. So this poor lady had a near death experience, was saved, but now she has to live her life with this information
Hmm.
from this being in whatever way, shape, or form. And I remember in the show, I think she was like, once he turned 18, like her last son turned 18, she was like, okay, like we're in the clear, like maybe like karma or free will did something different. But a couple years later, he did end up passing away, which I thought was like
Okay.
absolutely crazy because it wasn't only just like her experience of that, but she
Yeah, it was like
received
confirming.
information, which I feel like
Hmm.
is kind of messed up, for whatever like being told her that. But in this show, a lot of them do say like the light flashing before their eyes, like all white,
Hmm.
and those were near death experiences, kind of like yours, just more in like I guess the accidental way.
Yeah.
And these people were saved as well, and a lot of them have the same story where the an angel or a spirit guide or passed on loved one was just like, no, wasn't your time yet.
Not today.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think is like absolutely insane because it kind of makes you think like what did your soul contract to in the way to leave this earth? We don't know, but it
Yeah.
did. It did something.
Right. Yeah, that's and that kind of brings me to what I learned in the mentorship with the witch. I don't necessarily align with the things that I learned from her as far as the afterlife. I think I've form some other opinions, but something that she had mentioned is it's really, I guess, from memory, she says when you would die, you see the white light and you get this option to essentially transcend up into like the higher planes of existence. And there's usually like a loved one from that life that you knew who would guide you there who's passed on.
Hmm.
But she said that it's a decision and that you can say no, or that loved one may not be there depending on your life. And then you're kind of just wandering the 4D plane, the physical plane, and you're able to live as a spirit for as long as you want.
Oh.
And then you can go the what she and I don't know how she got this information or I
Hmm.
mean I trust it because of who she was as a person, but
Right.
she said that you would essentially like you could go to areas like let's say the house you grew up in and you could relive a specific point in time over and over and over again if you want, like a memory.
Hmm.
Or you could also go and like visit loved ones and just like hang around there and like watch their lives play out. And then if whatever time you were done, you could choose to move on.
Hmm. I like that because it does make sense in the way of what I was saying in the beginning about mediums and like
Mhm.
it's like, well, if they have all transcended, then who's around in the 4D as spirits, like doing things or messing with us and stuff like that? And I feel like that perception also gives comfort to people who like feel like they do just leave
Mhm.
and are just like not around anymore. And it's interesting when you said that she mentioned that you get an option because I thought the
Mhm.
second option you were going to say was to be to resurrect and
Mhm.
come back because of the commonality that families have and things have when someone dies and then someone gets pregnant.
Well,
So
she
that kind
did
of makes
she
a
did talk
little.
about like how reincarnation plays into that, and you could choose to like come into life as a new being. But
Mm,
my memory isn't clear on like exactly what she said, but I would guess like if let's say contracts are real and they're something that a soul adheres to,
right,
and you wanted to be I don't know in the same family and like help them, and you sign a contract to be the child or whatever.
right. Yeah, because that was always like a common theme that I used to like see, especially like going into like being spiritual,
Hmm.
where like even if someone would get pregnant first and then someone would pass on or like maybe the other way around and stuff like that, not to like scare anyone to get like pregnant, that doesn't always happen, but
Yeah.
I've seen it happen in ways where families would be like, well, our grandfather just died, now we're having a boy, like is that him, is his soul in there, did he choose? So I'd like to know, but we don't know. And that's actually like one of the things my dad said when my grandpa passed away. And he's like, well, now he knows what none of us don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, right, true. He
That's fair.
does. But I like the option. I do like to know or feel or hope that we do have an option because I would like to hang around and watch people for sure.
Really?
I
Yeah,
would be
I
that
know
spirit. Yeah.
something else she said was if somebody passed on and they stayed in the 4D, they would just carry on those like personality traits,
Hmm.
which is really interesting because uh, we used a Ouija board one of the times there. I was with her, and I reached out to my two grandfathers, and the one that I was talking about earlier, he was later in life really Catholic. And we never had the conversation, but I would assume would frown upon Ouija boards. And I tried to call him
Mm.
in, he didn't come in. But my other grandfather, who was known to explore in esoteric, or at least had an interest in it, he showed up. And essentially the things that he said from the Ouija board was like what I would expect him to be doing in the afterlife, like living his
Mm.
best life. And nobody there would know that information.
Right.
And like me and a buddy were like using the Ouija board and it's like writing itself out, like doing its
Mm-hmm.
thing. And it was like, holy shit. Like that was another time where I was like, oh, there's something to this. Like it checks out
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel like there is absolutely, well, everything's connected. So there's got to be some type of connection even to that other frequency if we are just energies. And that
Hmm.
would make sense too as to why when you do watch mediums, the way they get people to like understand who it is they'll bring up like a personality trait and stuff like that. I just wonder if like the person did decide to transcend, if they could still have that option to be like, wait, no, hold on, let me go back down and
Well,
access.
I would like in my example, like my grandfather that saved me essentially, if that's what
Hmm.
happened. I believe that he did, transcend because he was like really into Catholicism and I mean, and so like coming back to save me would mean like, yeah, they can if they need to or want to or whatever.
Right, right, that does make sense. It's so interesting too because when those things do happen and we have those kind of like, I guess, soulless bodies in front of us and we have that like mourning of like their physical entity, I
Hmm.
feel like it is forgotten that we are energies and we are frequencies and they could be accessible to us. That's why I do definitely like watching those types of shows or like watching mediums work their magic because I feel like it's just like so insane. And a lot of the
Yeah.
times like they say like to bring an item and then the medium just like knows what you brought and it's like how did they know that? So
It's so bizarre.
I feel like maybe that's why they like to call it the afterlife because maybe it's not life, it's what happens after, but it's not too far away from where we are specifically.
Yeah. Like it's very close. It's very
Yeah.
adjacent to what's going on. And so I've changed my opinion on this over the years, but
Hmm.
I really, really think that, okay, so before I get into this, the like the big conundrum is, okay, well, if you're a different religion, what happens? Like if you're Christian and you believe
Right.
this, you die, you go to hell, you die, you go to heaven. Or if you're, let's say, a Buddhist, you're reincarnated. Like that can't all be true, or can it?
Hmm.
And I really think that because we're so like powerful at manifesting and like just creating our lives, I think that if you die and you're a Christian, you have like a Christian afterlife.
Right.
Like I think it's like just like a blank slate. So like,
That's what I think too.
yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel like if we are mirrors of our reality here, then we should be mirrors of the reality up there. And what we believe in our position here would make sense as to what we get when we pass on.
Yeah.
Because I know that too. Like a lot of the times, like Christianity, they just like push the whole like, well, if you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. And it's like if you really get someone's belief system to be like that, and at the end of their life, they don't feel like they've
Done it.
kind of righted their wrongs enough. Like this
Hmm.
poor person now.
Yeah, they're gonna live in torment for eternity.
Mhm. Right,
And it's
exactly.
like self-inflicted, really. I
That's
mean,
why when people say that, I feel like, okay, why would you even say that? Like, oh, I'm going to go to hell. It's fine
yeah,
anyway. I'm like, okay, sure, keep saying that.
yeah. And then also at the same point of like, if you're atheist
Hmm.
and you die, I think you literally like it's that's it.
Combust.
Well, like I think your energy just goes back to whatever. But like
Hmm.
your experience is just a blip of an experience. Like you don't have the same journey that somebody else might.
Right, exactly. It's funny too because when I got into like spirituality and stuff like that, like my mom and my parents were very just kind of like, all right, whatever that girl's doing. And I would say to them, I was like, when you guys pass on, you'll see that I'm the easiest person to access because I'm paying attention.
So
And Uh-huh. I know for a fact my dad on the other side was like, damn, she was right, because she's the one that can like feel or hear me the best. And I feel like that also might be a thing too, where people pass on and they kind of just like access whoever's closest to paying attention to it.
Mhm.
Because I've gotten like weird signs and synchronicities of people that like I knew, but I wasn't that like close to. Like one of my friend's moms passed away, and I swear, like she was like trying to talk to me, and I didn't know who was trying to talk to me until the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh, my old childhood friend's mom passed away. I wonder if like I just felt something because I'm more sensitive to the feeling of it. I feel like they do that. I feel like on purpose, they're like, all right, I
Well,
know this
okay,
person's
so
paying
I have
attention.
a story for that. So my mentor, Barbara,
Hmm.
I went probably 5 or 6 years without speaking to her, and then there was one day I just like started thinking about her like all the time, and I was like, this is really strange. Like I wasn't even doing tarot or like really practicing anything at the
Hmm.
time, and I was like, yeah, it's whatever, and I didn't really pay attention to it, and it kept happening, and I kind of put it off for like a week and a half. Well, I looked back and like within a couple of days of when that happened, she had passed away. Like her death date was in the newspaper. I was like, holy fuck.
Hmm. Yep, she was trying to access your energy.
Yeah, she was just letting me know.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
actually so crazy too, because now I have another story. It's kind of connected to this, sort of, but it actually just happened to me within the last like 72 hours. So I do like my healing suite, and I have this couple that comes in, and like obviously not together. I can only massage one person at once. Um, but I've seen the boyfriend a bunch of times. I finally ended up seeing the girlfriend, and then I even saw like the boyfriend's mom. And when I was massaging the girlfriend, she had a necklace of like some like like those old school necklaces that it has like the person's like portrait on it.
Hmm.
Like it kind of looks like an older type of necklace. She had one of those on, and as I was massaging her, I was at her neck, and I like left, I guess like the little pendant was like directly on top of her trachea, and I was like, that's probably uncomfortable. So I moved it, and once I moved it, the music stopped. But the music didn't just like stop and like the speaker turned off. The speaker was on. Like the music was paused. And I don't know who paused the music, but I know from experience that they do like to mess with electronics. So once I
Hmm.
realized that, like, okay, the speaker didn't turn off on its own, like something
Did
actually.
you like mention this to her? Like, did you bring it up or you just,
Yes. So I did like in a lighthearted way. Like once I realized, like, oh wait, the music's paused. It didn't actually like turn off. I actually had to stop the massage and say, like, all right, we're not going to be in silence for another 45 minutes. And this just happened in the beginning of the hour. So I went, I turned the music back, and I just said it lightheartedly. I'm like, you had a passed on loved one or something. And she's like, yeah, you just touched her necklace. And I was
oh,
like,
damn.
oh, okay. So I'm freaking out. She's freaking out. And I was like, all right, we have 45 more minutes of this. Like, let's just chill for a moment.
This is,
So yeah. So we finished a massage, and then when she got up, we are just like sitting there having like, like when you and another person both experience something weird, like your energy is a little bit more hyper. You're like, oh my gosh, what was that? We kind of like
Mhm.
had that little moment. And then
Well, it's literally in the air. Like you can feel it when it
yes, the
happens.
feet
Yeah.
right. And that's what happened to me too when I first saw my dad. My heart was racing, but it wasn't like a anxious feeling. It was like
Yeah.
an excited heart race. So like that's kind of
Hmm.
like what happened between me and her. We were just like super hyper excited. Mind you, she just got an hour massage and now we're just like freaking out. So she leaves. A couple weeks later, her boyfriend comes in. And he's like, if you feel anything off of me, like let me know. I was like, oh no. I was like, hold on, I can't. I'm like, I'll see, but no promises. Like I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't practice mediumship. They just come in and I notice because it
Yeah.
wasn't like that before. So I felt so bad. I'm like trying to focus. I'm like, I don't know. The only thing I saw in my mind's eye was baseball and this guy with a child. And I don't know. That's all I saw. So he was leaving. And I was like, look, I'm so sorry that no one like did anything or like made something fall while you were in here. And I told him, I got baseball and I saw you holding a kid's hand. He's like, oh, it must be my nephew. And I was like, whatever. However you connect it, it's fine.
Mm.
But I just felt so imposter syndrome because I was like, dang, like I don't know if even what I picked up was right, and like I don't know this, and I feel bad because his girlfriend got something, and now he's coming in. Like I don't know. I just didn't know if like that is what was good. But I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
you can't do anything about it. That's what you saw.
Yeah, I mean,
Move on.
it's not like it's really not for you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes I don't, right. I don't know if it's supposed to make
Yeah.
sense. It may not make sense to you now at this very
Yeah.
moment. But so basically, then I saw his mom, and his mom came in specifically for that. I had no idea until the end. And she was like, so did you pick up on anything? And I was like, what? I was like,
It's
hold
too
on.
good.
I'm a massage therapist. Y'all can't mediumship everybody. And I don't even know, like, I know my spirit guides have told me, like, yes, you can talk to them. But like, I think my fear holds me back to where I'm like, nah, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to see them,
Yeah.
nothing. So this past weekend, mind you, this happened in the beginning of October. We are now almost done with November. This past weekend, the girlfriend comes in. She looks at me. She's like, I have to tell you something. I was like, what? She's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, I saw your boyfriend with a kid. And then we were just
Oh
freaking out.
shit.
Yes. And then she was like,
Oh.
you're right. He told me. She's like, he just, and I mind you, I see them usually on the same day. So like one comes before the other. And I was like, when I see him later, I'm like, he didn't remember I said that. She's like, no, no, he did. He just thought it was his nephew. And I
Oh
was
my
like, but
gosh.
when you ask a spiritual person to tap into like the other side, usually I kind of feel like they're going to give you something that like you're going to know right away, or something to
Mhm.
prove to you in the future that somebody did give me information. I just don't know who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, can I get a massage? And I was like, you can't, but you're here, you're sitting in front of me, and I know you're freaking out right now, so just like lay down. And I did like the most gentle, like Swedish for her, and I didn't let her like lay down on her stomach for long. It was only like 5 minutes. I was like, I know you want a little bit of your back, but like this is, you can't get it done in the first
Yeah.
trimester of being pregnant. And the most of the time we are just like freaking out about it, and I was like, I
That's
cannot
insane.
wait until your
Yeah.
boyfriend shows up so I can yell at him and be like, did I tell you that? And then he came
That's
a couple hours
crazy.
later, and I was like, do you not remember that was what he's like, no, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool. So yeah,
Wow.
I
That is
feel
really
like a
cool.
psychic again.
Yeah. And then when those confirmations happen, it's like, I don't know, like in, in any sort of like psychic mediumship, even if it's like tarot or, whatever,
Hmm.
it's like, it's really easy to discredit things
Right.
coming.
Oh, I
For me, it's
discredited
like,
myself right away. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I mean, it could be anything.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So my whole thing is that, who gave me that vision? Was it one of his passed on loved ones, or
Mm.
was it the soul of the child?
Oh shit.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
that's why I asked about reincarnation and stuff like that, because I was like, hmm. And now we're all like just waiting. She didn't go to the doctor yet because she's a very new, but I guess I told him it was a boy or whatever, like in the dream, in the vision
If
that
it's
I
a
saw.
boy, you
So
got to
now I'm
report
waiting.
back. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
when you
Now I'm
find
waiting to
out.
see what the gender is. And I
Yeah.
felt so bad. She's like, he told me that it was a little boy you saw him with, and I wanted a girl. And I was like, okay, hold on. I saw the back of the child. So you never
Yeah.
know. It could have
Oh
had like a
yeah, that's true.
unisex jacket on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, don't worry. But speaking
Dang.
of the afterlife, it made me think of that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what energy told me that?
Something.
Because he
There's
wanted me
something
to
out
pick
there.
up on, yeah, because his initial intention was for me to pick up on someone who's already passed on.
Yeah.
But like maybe I did pick up on them, and that was the information they felt was most important for him to know.
And you're
You know?
literally just like the translator essentially for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, do you feel like the new soul has access to the physical if they know like they're on their way into the womb? Or was that maybe a passed on loved one who like just knew the soul was coming in?
Well, yeah, okay. So that's a really good question. this kind of gets into like for me like abortion territory a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Um, I I have two beliefs on this, and they're maybe contradictory.
Hmm.
I don't think our souls are like stagnant in our bodies. For example, if somebody has a head, like a severe head trauma, and then like they're a different person,
Mm,
I think that person left. For example, my grandmother had cancer, and at the end of the stint, it wasn't like it wasn't her energy anymore. She was gone.
right.
And there was a time where I saw that and I was like, "Oh, you're not here anymore. Like this is just like
Hmm.
a like energy's gone." Like I could
Right.
it wasn't even like her mental, it was like energetically I could feel it, which was really strange.
Hmm.
So, I think that could absolutely happen like in transition, like in the womb for sure,
Right.
you know? Um,
Yeah, and that's so funny. Well, not funny, but my dad hated wakes because he
mhm.
never understood why everyone was around a soulless body, and he would always say like the person's not in there anymore. Why do we
Yeah.
have to stare at it? And I would always
Yeah.
be like, what do you mean? Like, why are you being so
Hmm.
dark? But now I get what he
Yeah.
was saying. He's right. They are not in there anymore.
Yeah. It's like an empty vessel at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
I think too, like, I don't know, I don't have kids, but I've seen some like young kids, and
Right.
I've seen some that are like full of energy, like not like physical
Mm-hmm.
energy, but like, I don't know, metaphysical energy, if you will. But then I've also seen
Right.
babies that are just like, there's nothing. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
empty.
And those kids that like they grow up a little bit and then all of a sudden they know how to play piano great and like they it's
Yeah.
like where'd you learn this from? Those
Hmm.
are the energies that I feel like have those reincarnations. And that also goes hand in hand with like abortion. Like I believe like if that happens in a sense, like the soul will find its way.
Yeah.
Because all type of pregnancies that happen that way are not all because of a decision. Some of them the baby isn't forming right and y'all
Yeah.
both could be having a bad time. So I
Hmm.
like to think that like the soul goes back to the beginning stage and then just waits for like a
The
healthy
right. Yeah.
one to come through and yeah, exactly. But
Yeah. That's what I think though. I think it's pretty open. But also the world, I mean, the universe is so strange. Like just what we know about the world is very little, and it's so fucking weird. Just like all the
mm-hmm,
like weird, I don't know, strange things out there. It's like why
yeah,
not?
yeah, exactly. That's what I like to believe because I want to believe that like all of the things are still around just on a different level of energy, although they don't have
Hmm.
like a physical vessel. And that's like kind of what like nature teaches us too. And even like all religions have their own little way of saying that. They just say it in different words. So I definitely feel
Yeah.
like whatever you believe is the way things happen for you. And sometimes you are hit with those moments in life that either give you a near death experience or make you understand loss or grief and stuff like that to kind of believe in something higher, believe in something more of what our of ourselves.
Yeah, and there's not really a wrong answer, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
Mhm.
Well, that's what we have for this episode. Our next episode is going to be all about soulmates, twin flames, soul tribe members, specifically our experiences with people and connections, as well as what we feel is kind of, I guess, the label of those. And are they real? Are they not?
Yeah.
You'll just have to find out what we think next time.
Yeah, and please share your experience with afterlife, loved ones or not loved ones.
Hmm.
Down in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to hear what everyone is going through.
Yes, absolutely. Share your experience. And if you would like to be on our podcast, you can head to our website down below and put in an entry with your story, your name, and what topics you'd like to talk about if you would like to be on our podcast. Thank
Thank
you
you
all
guys
for
so much.
listening. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.